Everything else good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let's hit it then. You all set?
All set.
All right. Better Than You Remember, episode 3. We've got Steve Peterson. I'm Mike Moliterno, and joining us, special guest Greg Bartholomew, the owner of All American Cards and Comics.
Is that a question?
Is that what that's what it's called, right?
You have to phrase it in the way of a question, but yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Shops in Boardman and Warren, and also the creator of the Youngstown Comic-Con. Thank you for joining us, Greg.
Oh, no problem.
And today we are talking about Star Wars. And again, I don't think this one needs like super relitigated. I don't think we need to defend it from many detractors. They're pretty beloved movies.
Yeah.
But kind of in keeping with the spirit of what we did with Indiana Jones, I think that upon rewatch, maybe there are things about these that are better in different ways, or perhaps movies that that get a little bit of grief that maybe are better than you remember. I think when you rewatch a series like this, pretty much every time I rewatch it, my order of favorite movies shuffles a little bit. Has anyone? Well, we'll start with you, Greg. What are your thoughts on these movies? And don't tell us what your favorite ones are. We're going to do that at the end. But what are your thoughts on these movies? And has your opinion of them shifted over time?
Are we talking about all 9 of them?
No.
Okay.
just the first 3.
Just the first 3.
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that those other movies exist, but right now they don't.
Okay.
4, 5,
So,
and 6.
like,
The original
so-
trilogy.
Yeah, keep these
So
3
it's
movies in a
1983.
bubble.
Okay.
Yes. None of that other. So the Emperor is Emperor. He's
Oh,
not
man.
Palpatine. You know what I mean? He's just the Emperor. All of that. Yeah.
I mean, I love all 3 of them, but obviously I do prefer them in some type of order. But I'm sorry, I'm stuttering, but my opinion on the original 3 movies has been changed a little bit over the last 20 years or so, I guess, since they are on TV so readily now.
As a series, you know, taking the whole trilogy as a whole, has your estimation of them grown or diminished in recent years?
I think it's grown, just even though we're not comparing the other 6 movies.
Right.
4, 5, and 6 to me are, even if they wouldn't have made the other 6, it's still one of my favorite trilogies of all time. And the original New Hope is probably one of my favorite movies of any genre.
Steve, when were these movies first? When did they first come to your attention, and what did you think of them?
Star Wars was introduced into our house at some point in the 90s. I remember my brother got the box set on VHS, 4, 5, and 6. I had no idea what it was because maybe we hadn't got on television yet or whatever, but I just remember enjoying it the first time. It was outer space. It was cool. There was, laser swords and, Darth Vader obviously was awesome. But for some reason I was never a big Star Trek fan, and my dad was, so we kind of didn't mesh on that. But no, Star Wars was great. And I think initially I was all for Han Solo, but as I rewatched them, I'd shift over and be like, well, Darth Vader's the coolest, so that's my guy.
I had the exact same box set you had. That was the second way that I saw them, because I originally had them. I had episode 5 and 6 on a VHS. I didn't have New Hope at first, but I think the box set that you're talking about, that had some alterations to it, didn't it?
I think so. This might have been, I'm not sure.
It was 94, 95 that came out before the redos hit the theater in like 96, 97.
Yeah.
There were some changes, but not
right,
but not the huge changes that they did when they re-released them to the theaters.
Right.
The casing, I remember, it was, it held all 3 tapes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a gold sort of look to it. It was, a classic look.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about as far as these movies before we get into voting on the different categories here?
I could say before I went and saw the movie in the summer of '77, the trailers for the movie, you really didn't get an idea, at least as a 10-year-old, of what was going on. Because they didn't show a lot of the major characters. I mean, I remember the 30-second commercial. The first thing was R2-D2 and C-3PO jettisoning out of that spaceship with the plans for Leia. And I thought the bad guys were going to be the Tusken Raiders because they showed that in the commercial more than anybody else. And then you're watching the movie going, hey, this isn't anything like the trailer that they put out. But, you know, by the end of it, you're like, wow, that was, especially for a 10-year-old, it was great. So I remember the first day of 5th grade, because I had seen it in late July or early August, Mr. Fulton's class, and all we talked about was Star Wars for the first week. Not with Mr. Fulton, but with, you know, all of my buddies. So
did Mr. Fulton see it?
I don't know if he did or not. I don't think that was his cup of tea, because he was more of he was a music guy. So, you know, I'm sure he voted for Annie Hall to win Best Picture that year, since
Okay. Yeah.
I can't believe Star Wars didn't. Still bitter.
Well, he should have gone for the music. It's one of the most iconic scores of all time.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was always surprised to find out, again, upon rewatching them, that the Imperial March isn't in the first movie. That doesn't make it an appearance until the second movie.
Yep.
I always just kind of assumed John Williams, like just, it was the same score for every movie. You know what I mean? Like, he had basically done it for New Hope, and it's just like, yeah, and then I tinker with this for this scene. But no, there's whole themes and things that are introduced in each movie, you know. So the Yoda theme, for example, which is awesome, you know. But I digress. All right, let's get into some categories here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to break down some things that reoccur in each of the movies. We're going to vote on which ones we think are the best. We're going to tally that up. Then we're going to rank these movies from the one we like least to the one we like the most. Then we're going to see how that kind of compares to, you know, which ones we thought had the best of all of these things. So that's how we're going to do. We're going to start off with the best opening, and I'll give you some nominations. And Greg, why don't you go ahead and take this one, since you are the elder statesman of the Star Wars universe here. So we're going to go with best opening. So you've got Darth Vader, you know, chasing down Leia, coming in there. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, that whole thing. Then we've got Empire Strike Back. We've got Luke getting attacked by the Wampa on Hoth. And then, obviously, Return of the Jedi. You've got the whole sequence at Jabba's palace. So, I mean, the opening sequence, you can kind of go, I don't know that in Empire that goes all the way to the Battle of Hoth. But maybe, because the Jabba Palace sequence goes on for quite some time. So that's open to debate. I guess we can just start.
I would say those are the main things that happen at the beginning of the movie. That kind of sets the pace.
Battle of Hoth is in there then, sure. So what do you got? What do you got, Greg?
Oh, New Hope, not even close.
Really?
For me, yeah. That opening scene, I remember sitting in the theater and he comes busting through that door, and you know the progression of it up until they find Leia and start interrogating her. I mean, that just set the tone for not only that whole movie, but I think for the whole trilogy, because they come out and establish Darth Vader is maybe not the main antagonist in the first movie, along with Grand Moff Tarkin, obviously, you know, the other person in the later movies. But I just remember sitting there going, man, this is a bad dude. And he kind of reminded me of Dr. Doom, you know, man behind a metal mask, referring to some comic books and that. But I thought New Hope's opening was the best, I think, of any of the movies.
See, it's interesting, because if you watch the first one in a bubble, Darth Vader he's a bad guy, but he might just be sort of a thug.
Right.
You know, he doesn't come off as he's the villain necessarily. He's, you know what I mean? He's the guy that you got to beat up, but he's probably not the boss when you get to the end of that video game level.
No,
you know what I mean? He's the guy you got to kill to get to the boss.
Right. He's the enforcer.
Right. What about you, Steve?
I enjoyed 6, the opening sequence there. I like Jabba the Hutt's palace, I guess they would call it. I just think it's so great that they kind of like sneakily got Han out of the carbonite and the rest continues. The whole Sarlacc pit thing was great. Luke he's all tuned up. He's a master Jedi. So I'm ready to wrap this story up. So
I am also going to go with Jedi, actually. Although Empire is a close second, the Battle of Hoth and all that. I'm going to go with Jedi because that sequence, I think, has so many tiny little world-building moments in it that are kind of really subtle, but like the outside of Jabba's palace when the little frog like eats the other little bug.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like
that was cool.
Yeah.
I can't
or
remember. Was that the original or was that something they added?
No, that's in there.
Okay.
That was in there. Yeah.
Like you said, there's been so many different versions. I can't remember what was original and what was added on.
But I mean, from the monsters that you see, the Sarlacc, the Rancor, the them torturing the droids down in the basement, all of these new creatures that you see, like it's the cantina scene times 10. There's just everywhere you look is something you've never ever seen before. Jabba the Hutt looks fantastic. And I especially love that when Vader first arrives at the Death Star, it's one of the first times you get to see sort of the military infrastructure of the Empire. You got to see like conference rooms and things like that, or maybe the bridge of one of the Star Destroyers. But this seems like this is where they're actually all gathering. Do you know what I mean? You kind of get the idea that it's just not a bunch of people on separate ships. There's a command structure, and obviously you know that, but this is the first time that you ever actually see them all just parading for Darth Vader. Gather, you know what I mean? And it's you can tell it's a set. It looks fantastic. And I just love the whole Jabba sequence. I think it's just great. It has problems, but
one problem
I love
we
it.
didn't have was Princess Leia.
No.
We'll get into that later.
That puts it over the top. No, but I mean, Jabba, you've been hearing about him for 3 movies, and then he delivers. He's amazing. He looks awesome. His little thing that he's eating frogs.
Yep.
Salacious Crumb makes that whole scene,
Is that the guy with the
That's the little chirpy
goblin guy?
Right. Yeah.
With the sinister laugh. Every time somebody dies, he's sitting there cracking up.
But I just love everything about
He was my
that.
favorite part of that scene.
Okay. Well, Jedi takes opening. Sorry, Greg.
That's okay.
All right.
Temple of Doom's still the worst Indiana Jones movie.
Oh no!
There's no way.
Number four was better than number 2.
Number 4 was better than number 2.
Yes.
What? Oh my God! I just realized what you said.
If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, go back and watch our rankings of the Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, by the way, Steve, Josh just watched that over the weekend. Didn't even finish it. It said it was irredeemable.
Oh Lord!
There's no way number 4 is. Are you serious? You think 4 is better than 2, Greg?
I hated number 2.
Oh my God!
I didn't even see it in the theater when it came out.
Well, then you need to go rewatch that movie.
I've seen it a million times, but
maybe it's better than you remember.
Yeah,
it is. Oh my gosh! I don't
guys
even
in your
understand.
Mandela effect.
I don't even understand you. I don't. Okay. Oh my gosh! I don't see how that's even possible.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We've had a great time here. Greg, thanks for being on the show today.
Like, no. You know what? Ranking the Indiana Jones movies, part 2.
Yeah,
no!
I'll come back.
No, this is just. You know what? You're going to see me get up out of this chair, and all of a sudden I'm going to appear in Greg's little video square right there.
I'll be like at the Apollo, get the Sandman come here and sweep me out.
Yeah. Well, you're wrong about that one.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I've been saving that the whole day.
I gotta calm down. Man. All right. I gotta keep my mouth shut.
We're gonna shake it off.
Here we go. Okay, best ending. Now, do we want to go? Do we want to do just the very, very endings, sort of the wrap up, or do we want to like go kind of with the full battle lead up to the ending?
I think that's fair. Do like a lead up to the ending.
So kind of, Luke taking out the Death Star, Luke and Vader fighting, and then basically Luke and Vader fighting again.
Right.
Yeah. You want to go, Steve?
Yeah. It's definitely the first one, episode 4. I mean, you did it. You blew it up. From what we know at this point, only have receiving that one episode. That's the end of the story. Everyone on the Death Star is dead. We've done it. We won.
Well, Vader's not dead.
Well, no, but we went and did what we wanted to do.
What about you, Greg?
I agree 100%. I remember watching, when I did watch it in the theater, you didn't know there was going to be a sequel. Okay, they left a little bit open when Darth Vader went and flew off into the middle of space, but we never thought there was going to be a second movie or, a third movie at all. And so, like Steve said, once it was done and over, you're sitting there cheering, you got your hands up like, yay, we did it, and if didn't see Han coming, at least when you're 10 years old, you didn't think he was going to come back and save the day. But I remember, yoo-hoo, all right, kid, and Luke shoots the 2 photon blasters and busts everything up. And you never saw an explosion like that on a movie screen, at least in a science fiction movie, because the special effects back then were not as good. And Star Wars came out and really pushed the envelope on special effects, because you had science fiction movies that came out after that, like Close Encounters and the Star Trek movies and even the Superman movies before 1980. And they were a step down, at least visually. But I mean, just the feeling I had at the end of New Hope was way, way stronger than Empire or Return of the Jedi.
I don't agree with you guys. I got a different one, but I have two tiny little nitpicks with that one.
I know what you're gonna pick because it was terrible.
What? No. But I never understood why Luke and the other attackers didn't just fly perpendicularly toward the little hole.
Why come down the alley where all the guns were?
And then you have to shoot sort of a curve.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You have to throw like a knuckleball into there. Like, why not just fly directly at it? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, then you saw how they made those with the models and that, and it was, made it that much cooler. But yeah, why didn't they just come straight down into it and shoot from 90, 180 degrees straight line to 90-degree angle?
And it always sort of bothers me a little bit in the Star Wars movies where everyone who just has like, hey, Dak, how's it going? Or hey, Wedge, that guy, all they need is one shot and their whole ship explodes. But like Luke, Vader, like you said, Han comes back, Han tags Vader, but he just kind of spins around. He's whenever it's a main character, somehow it's always a glancing blow, or they've got some kind of shield they never really explain that makes sure that they're okay.
That's the George Lucas effect.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with, I don't know how you guys don't go with the ending of Empire. With, that's got to be one of the great endings of all time. The Darth Vader reveal alone is amazing, but it's also an epic lightsaber battle. You know what I mean?
I liked it better than Return of the Jedi.
Han is frozen. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with...
But it's not very finite. I think that's why I like New Hope better than I like Empire.
Yeah, you could have just ended it at New Hope and just... Exactly.
Again, on the end of 5, though, we assume that Ben Kenobi just lied to Luke about his dad. So, again, if that's the ending, you're left wondering what's going on.
Well, there can't be an ending after 5. That's just, you can't end it there.
Right.
Obviously.
But it's just like, really? If I'm like in that timeline back in Greg's days, like at the end of 5, well, what's going on here? You're still waiting for the next movie, and you're not going to figure it out until they come back as Force Ghosts and say, well, from a certain perspective, no.
Yeah.
And what would have happened to Luke if Leia wasn't his sister and he was just hanging off of that antenna for the rest of eternity after he fell down the chute?
Like that connection.
He's just laying there.
Stuck up here, I guess.
Exactly.
They just left me here.
Yeah, it's like, how did that chute just magically open up that he dropped into? And that was even when I saw it the first time, I'm like, that's kind of odd.
It's an odd way to get rid of trash.
Trash, right?
Yeah, and plus you'd think, why is there an antenna there? It's going to get damaged by all of the falling trash.
Trash.
And do they just let it fall off into space? Is
Yeah.
there a city below them?
Good luck, everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. All right, but anyway, moving on. So, New Hope takes best ending. Next category: who wore it best? Chewbacca, Jabba the Hutt. Greg.
Wore what?
That's exactly right. Who wore it best? What,
I'm going to
yeah.
go with Jabba only because he had Slave Leia attached to him.
Sure. Yeah.
I just thought, like you had said earlier, I thought once they showed Jabba and his grandeur and, splendor, he was a very impressive piece of Jim Henson magic there, as I like to call Return of the Jedi.
What do you think, Steve?
Oh, I'll go for Chewie. Chewie's my
Chewie.
boy.
Why?
He's got a lot of luxurious hair.
See, I'm going to go with Jabba because he didn't even need the little tool belt thing. You know what I mean? He went full on birthday suit and he made it
He's
work.
not fighting though. He's just bossing people around.
He doesn't need to, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Big is beautiful. Here he is, you
Right.
know.
I, of all people, won't disagree, but I'm still voting for Chewie.
All right. Jabba the Hutt, best naked character in the trilogy. Best unnamed character. Now, these people probably have names. I'm sure that they have been novelized or something, but I'm just going with, these random guys that pop up and they probably don't even have a line. I'm going to go with Lando's second guy, the reverse LeVar Burton from Star Trek,
Lobot?
dude. Yeah.
Lobot. Okay.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Greg's about to take you to school.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure these guys are all credited. They have names, but they're never said like in the movie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Before we vote, that was the most frustrating thing is you would see these people, they wouldn't talk, they didn't have a name, but then they came out in the toy line and you're like, how was this guy named IG-88? Because they never said what his name was in the movie.
Right.
And you're sitting there looking at the Kenner, display on who's on what, tier. You're like, oh, that's who that is. You didn't even know the names back then.
Yeah. All right. So we're going with Lando second, Lobot, I guess.
Nope, that's
Lobot, sure. We're gonna go with pig guy that picks a fight with Luke in the cantina. The guy with kind of beaver teeth and a pig nose.
I don't like you
yeah.
either.
I don't like
Yeah,
you.
he actually has lines.
You'll
And
be
then-
dead.
Right, and then we're gonna go with the owner of the Rancor. I'll start this one off. I'm going Rancor owner. I don't care who you are. You always remember that guy. He has no lines. He's in the movie for 10 seconds and everyone always notices the Rancor owner. And I think it's such a beautiful touch to have this dude who's just so devastated that his poor Rancor pet has just been killed. And he's sitting there literally crying into the arms of this other guy who's consoling him. I love that guy.
I'll agree 100%. That's probably the best unnamed character. It's a sweet moment.
It is.
I'll agree with that too.
All right.
I like how they had him. I don't know if he was like this naturally, but he had like those Marty Feldman eyes too, because he was kind of cross-eyed, and he's crying and whimpering. And
Yeah.
I remember actually when I did see that the first time, I felt bad for that guy because his pet got
Aw.
squished.
I know. That's funny. We're moving on to best place to have a drink after work. We're going with the Cantina, Jabba's Palace, or the Ewok Tree City. Where would you like to go have a drink after work, Steve?
I have to say Jabba's Palace. That place just seems so cool. That's like the place to be.
And there's nap time.
Well, that's true.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
After you're done
Siesta.
drinking your beer, you take a little siesta. I'm
Yeah.
on board with that.
Okay. What about you, Greg?
I'm going to use my inklings from my old hometown. I was more of a dive bar guy, so I'm going to the Cantina,
Ah,
being from the west side of Warren. I do like Jabba's Palace, but I probably hung out with more people that I identify with in the Cantina. So
see, I'm also going to go with Jabba's Palace. I'm just thinking there's entertainment, Somebody's going to get eaten. You get to see who Jabba's new slave woman is. You know what I mean? There's a band, awesome music. And then at the end,
But
business
the
is always
Cantina's
going
band
on.
was better than Jabba's band.
Well, just like dive bars in Warren, there's one band that plays the same music.
Right.
Cantina in the original one, they
Right.
had the lady dancing, the whole thing. It was they were really putting on a show. Plus, business is going to get conducted. People are going to show up and just start selling other people for bounties and stuff. Always
Han
something.
shot first.
Yeah, always something happen. Well, that's in the Cantina. I'm talking about Jabba, but there's always something going on. And at the end of the day, you get to
but security there was terrible.
Well, you're not.
I mean, how does
expecting someone
Lando
to
and
come
Leia sneak in? Their door people were terrible.
If they don't have the Jedi mind trick, then you're pretty good,
Yeah.
And you get nap time. At the end of the night, everyone gets to go to
I
bed.
never understood the nap time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
More bars should start doing that.
Yes.
Exactly. Best vehicle. This is one of your categories, Steve. So I'm gonna let you lead it off. But what we've got here are the Millennium Falcon, got the X-wing, the TIE fighter, got the land speeder. We're talking about those little bikes in Jedi, right, Steve?
Yeah.
The AT-AT or the AT-SD, and the Star Destroyer.
I'm going to say X-wing. I think that's the coolest vehicle. If I have to choose something to fly, I mean, the Millennium Falcon is awesome, but the X-wing, the wings turn into the X. You've never seen that in any way, shape, or form, but now it's here, and it looks sweet.
I don't see how you go with anything other than the Millennium Falcon. It's also your house. You know what I mean? If you got to go to the Dagobah system and you're in the X-wing, you're cramped, man. You're like in a little Volkswagen Beetle, basically. There's no cup holders. There's no nothing. You got to go to other galaxies. It's like, you know what I mean? The Millennium Falcon. You get your sidekick there, Chewie, to take the wheel for a little bit. You take turns taking naps. You know what I mean? You got your little lounge area and stuff. It's an RV.
It's the space RV.
It is. It's the RV of the Star Wars world. Yeah.
If
And
you're
it
an
has
RV
guns.
guy, I'm not going to hate on you. But
No, I'm just saying it. It's multi-purpose. What do you got, Greg?
I can't believe that a guy named Mike would vote for the Millennium Falcon when Mike's place in Kent has an X-wing out front. And I'm going with the X-wing because I always thought in all the movies, I thought that was the coolest. I mean, you've got to love the Millennium Falcon, which is a unique ship on its own. But I mean, when you got the X-wing toy, you pushed on R2's head, and like Steve said, it popped open, and I don't know. I thought it was sleek, like Steve said, it was sleek, it was fast, it was consistent in all the movies too. I mean, look what happened to the poor Falcon in Empire. I mean, it kept breaking down, and but I like the X-wing.
Yeah, the other ones I'm not like that big of a fan of. TIE fighters seem too delicate, and that sound's got to be annoying. Do you imagine what that sounds like in the cabin of one of those things?
Yeah,
The
just
cockpit, it's
screaming.
gotta be, yeah.
I never understood, as a kid, I never understood the noise that it was making. I'm like, how did they record that noise? It's just some guy screaming into a microphone? Just,
Yeah, I don't know.
It had to go along with Vader with his deep breathing the whole time. Well, his ship should sound bad too.
Walkers are completely unwieldy, and I'm still not convinced how those land speeders work because I never see them doing anything. Somehow they're turning those things.
Running into trees.
There's no
Yeah.
there's no steering or anything. They're just their hands never move.
Yeah.
Somehow they steer them though. I never understood. All right, X-wing takes it. Here's another one of your categories, Steve. Best lightsaber. We have Anakin's, the blue one. Darth Vader's, red. And we have Luke's reconstructed, or not reconstructed, Luke's new lightsaber from episode 6, the green lightsaber. Does anyone care about this? Why do you want this, Steve?
because it's the weapon of a Jedi, and they're awesome.
All right.
Laser sword.
All right. Well, then what's your what do you got?
Well, it's Darth Vader's. It's just cool to see the full layout of Darth Vader, and of course, it's going to be this badass looking red saber.
Okay. I like the blue one. I don't know. It's maybe it's because it's blue. It's cool looking.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just looks neat. I have a question for you guys real quick. how sharp is the lightsaber? Because I always just assumed the lightsaber was basically like Wolverine's adamantium claws, like it's just going to go through anything. I mean, Han doesn't seem to have very much trouble cutting into the belly of the Tauntaun. But then other times, again, when it counts, like, if Luke clips Darth Vader, he hits him with a good shot at the end of Empire, and it just kind of scratches his arm, sparks a little bit. He's okay. Like,
Well,
I would
it
think
also
that
cuts
thing
his
would
hand
go
off in 6, so.
Yeah, well, but again, he hits him good. I would think it would cut that arm clean off, go into his chest.
I don't know.
I'm unsure
Darth Vader
how they
has armor.
work
That's all
exactly.
I'm saying. Tauntauns don't have armor.
They seem like I get it, but yeah, whatever. They seem to be able to go through anything when they need to, and then when someone's life's on the line, they seem to be able to be stopped. I was just curious. I don't know. Food for thought. Whatever. What do you got, Greg?
Darth Vader red. That's my favorite color. Now, the scene in Empire with it glowing with, because it was kind of shaded so dark when they were fighting that, I thought that was the coolest. So
I love when he just throws it at Luke too in
yeah,
Jedi.
he gets all pissed off. Here you go.
It's like throwing a chainsaw at somebody.
yeah.
It's just like, how do you not just yeah. Goodness. Plus, why didn't Luke just pick it up? Now he has 2 lightsabers. Darth Vader's not thinking. He was
Does he know how to use 2 lightsabers? Original trilogy, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Had to continue his training.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now that we've done that, we got to go to fight. This one I think is sort of a no-brainer. We've got Obi-Wan versus Vader. You've got Luke versus Vader in Empire and Luke versus Vader, the rematch in Jedi. Does anyone want to take this?
Why don't you, Mike?
Luke versus Vader in Empire Strikes Back.
I
think
agree.
it's the best.
That's a sweep.
I think it's the best fight in all of them. I love everything about it. I love Luke using his force to grab his lightsaber back, shooting the like steam thing in Vader's face, kicking Vader. I love him jumping up into the thing. I love when Luke's just walking around and all of a sudden you hear real quick Darth Vader breathe and he just comes out of nowhere and he's just hacking at him and then starts throwing stuff at him. It's just, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think we're all agreeing on that.
No question.
Nobody.
I don't think that's a conversation. If there's one category that didn't need to be talked about.
All right. Nobody has any other thoughts on that then?
No way.
Well, how about how crappy the fight in New Hope was?
Well, you knew what was going to happen. It was very anticlimactic.
It was kind of surprising that he just sort of vanished, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, that's one of those like world building situations where we don't know how the Force works exactly. So.
Well,
yeah, Han, just use the Force. That's not how it works.
Yeah. In my book, though, the one from Jedi, that lightsaber battle is my second, though. I absolutely love it when Vader finally gets Luke so pissed off that he just comes charging at him, and the camera starts dollying under those stairs, and John Williams starts doing his magic with the choirs and everything.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
He just starts hacking away.
Oh yeah.
That's
He gets
great.
in touch with his anger.
He does.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Best creature. There's a bunch of these, but I think there's only a few real contenders. The garbage monster in New Hope. The asteroid worm from Empire Strikes Back. Greg, you probably know all of these things' names, but I'm just going by.
I don't know. Yeah.
What is his name? Bill?
Yeah.
The Dagobah swamp monster. You only see him for a second. The Wampa, I think. Is that the snow monster that attacks Luke? And then we're going to go with the Rancor and the Sarlacc. Who wants to take it?
Well, I know you don't like the Sarlacc.
No. I never said that.
We've had a conversation in the past where it was a mysterious thing, and you're like, "This is the greatest thing ever."
I don't like what Lucas did to it. I don't like him messing with it. I liked it when it was this mysterious pit that sort of
Right.
had little teeth.
Something you
and-
never saw
Yeah,
was
and
better than
one tentacle
you know.
came out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like it when he gave it a beak.
Or a burp. What about the burp?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the burp wasn't that in the original?
It was the original.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of vibrated a little and burped. Yeah. That was great. I love that. Yeah. No one wants to go first?
I will go first. I'm going to say Wampa. I like it.
Oh.
It's just you didn't really think a creature like that would have it in its nature to capture someone and, you know, hold them hostage, essentially, frozen on their ceiling.
How does he do that?
I have no idea.
This always
But
bothered me.
at
How
the
did
same
he
time-
do that? Did he hold him upside down?
For an extended
For
period
hours?
of time.
Yeah.
That'll do. That's a load-bearing human. Oh, well.
Exactly. Just set a rock on top of him. I don't know.
In
Or
a
kill
different
him.
context, he's kind of cuddly looking.
What do you think, Greg?
I think the one that I liked the most and I thought was the most mysterious was the one-eyed monster in the garbage pit in New Hope. I remember when I saw the movie the first time, you're sitting there just wondering what's going to pop up, you know, because the scene was done so well. I do like the Wampa a lot, and I like when Luke hits him with the lightsaber. He hits him like in the elbow, but his whole arm falls off, or it was the other way around, and there was no blood. You know, there was some blood, and you're like, oh, look at that fake arm just laying on the snow there, and then the guy runs out. It's like, okay.
But later in the movie, you can't take off Vader's
I still don't know
arm.
why Luke ran out after, you know, it's like, I'm going to go back out in the cold.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Just kill
Right.
that thing. You got shelter.
I like the one-eyed garbage monster.
Well, I'm going to go with the Rancor just because it looks awesome.
Back to the Rancor.
For stop motion, that thing holds up. It still looks awesome today.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And then I have one question, or it's just something that I think's always never made sense to me, is the Sarlacc. When they're threatening them, they're going to throw you into the Sarlacc where you'll be slowly digested over 1,000 years. Just like, won't I starve to death first?
Yeah.
Like, what do I care? I'm not going to be around for 99.99% of that.
127
mean?
hours this.
Yeah. It's
I'll be
just like,
dead in 3 weeks.
how do you know that? It just seems like it's impossible to verify. Biggest, Lucas, stop touching the movie scene. We're going to go with adding Jabba to the New Hope. The him tampering with the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back, Jabba's palace, all the shenanigans that go on there, and the ending of Jedi also, getting rid of Yub Nub and replacing it with a new song, and adding Hayden Christensen in there at the end. Here's something.
That's
This is true. This is true,
George,
Greg.
I love you, but please.
This happened a week ago. I texted Steve when this happened. My daughter, who's 3.5, is watching Return of the Jedi. She's finally made it to the end of Return of the Jedi. She's never seen any of the prequels. She loves these movies, but she never watched Jedi all the way through. We get to the end. This is the newest version, you know, because I got a digital download or whatever. The Death Star explodes, and it starts cutting to all of these other locations where everyone's celebrating. I swear, my daughter looked at me, confused as could be, and said, "Are we still watching Star Wars, Dad?" Could not figure out what was going on. Here's this 3-year-old, knows nothing about Lucas tampering with these, knows nothing about any of that, but immediately went, "This doesn't work." Immediately was taken out of the movie by these extra scenes. Just, what the hell is going on? It was the adult that it was 3-year-old for what the, you know.
Yeah.
I agree with your 3-year-old.
Yeah, she's a smart kid. Yeah. So who's got what's the most egregious one, or does someone have one that we didn't put in there?
I mean, you're going to get the purists about them fixing the cantina scene in New Hope with Han and Greedo, but
Right.
that ending scene in Jedi's just, okay, it's over. Good. You know, it was like, when I saw when they retouched that, I was just like, are you kidding me? I had the same feelings your 3-year-old did. I'm like, this is just, you're just trying too hard. And then when Christensen showed up on the last scene, I'm like, you actually going to use this guy? I mean, are you serious? I'd rather see Jar Jar up there than you know.
Oh my gosh.
That'll be in another edition later.
Yeah.
So you're going with the ending of Jedi?
Oh yeah, the ending of Jedi. Yeah.
I think Jedi definitely gets it the worst of
Yeah.
any of the movies. What do you
I mean,
think,
that-
Steve? Oh, go ahead.
I used this line today with Josh down at the Warren store. Where I made a Zach Morris's trash reference, and I said, you know, the end of Return of the Jedi is trash too, at least the updated one.
For me, it's episode 4, putting Jabba there, because it really takes away the buildup of who are they talking about. Again, at this point in time, the audience does not know what a hut is. So for you to just put him in there and have Han Solo step on his tail and be like, oh, no, that is a bad idea. Don't do that, George.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a close second for me.
I go back and forth between that or just all of the stuff that happens with Jabba's palace. I don't like what he did with the Rancor. I hate the musical number that they changed.
I was going to say that person.
Really? I thought you loved that music.
I hate it.
You have that on 8-track.
The original one is cool.
Beta.
But that they then bring back these people. They bring this digital guy in, and he's literally looking into camera. He's screaming. It's just so stupid. I almost think that one's worse than Jabba and New Hope, because at least Jabba and New Hope, I can just fast forward it. It's like it never happened. That scene never existed anyway. I just forget it. This is a scene I remember and enjoyed, that now he's just been destroyed.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the scene in Empire or New Hope, seeing Jabba the Hutt walking around or slithering or whatever he does, ruins Jedi. So I almost think the New Hope appearance is worse because it then ruins 2 other movies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
And I
agree.
find it so fascinating that Jabba the Hutt can't move. In the 3rd one, he's so big, everyone carries him around.
Yep.
I just think, what kind of fear has he instilled in people that they are not only doing everything he says, they're literally keeping him alive. They carry him around, they feed him, they protect him. What kind of horrible things has this guy done to get such loyalty from these people? But when
Yeah,
you
just
see him
leave
just
him.
walking around, it's like,
Huts
evidently he
are
could
bad
chase
people.
The Jabba scene in Jedi with the new singer with the long-lipped mouth, that song just grates on me when it's on TV, because if we have it on at the shop and it comes on, I start mocking that song because it's so terrible.
Yeah.
And it really does ruin that scene. It's like, okay, before they tinkered with it, it wasn't as good as the cantina scene in the first movie, I think, but it's definitely worse now once that they messed around with it.
Well, it was
But
more just
the ending of Jedi to me, though, is still just like, I had told Steve last week when we were talking about this, I'm like, when it was done, I didn't expect any other movies. It was like, Star Wars is finished. Hey, good run. What's next?
Right.
we have got our last category, best death. We got Greedo. We've got Obi-Wan. That poor dude that got choked out. I can't remember his name. Guy who came out of Lightspeed too quickly. The first dude that Vader force chokes.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jabba getting strangled by Leia. Boba Fett going down into the Sarlacc. Vader and Palpatine. And I have one question for you. This is another thing that's always bothered me. Why is Vader all of a sudden dying? All that happens is his hand gets cut off, and all of a sudden he can't breathe. He can barely walk. What happened? Why
He's
is he
been through the fight of his life, Mike?
It
Do not
wasn't-
understand.
No, he's literally going toe to toe with Luke. Luke cuts his hand off, and all of a sudden he can't breathe.
His will to live left him just like Padme.
Oh my gosh!
Just like
Which is the most terrible thing about those movies. It's like, why did Padme die? Her will to live ended. Well, maybe Anakin's will to live left him at the end of.
It didn't
Jedi,
seem
and he
like
just
there's no mention of him being sick or he's going to
Or-
die. All of a sudden his hand gets cut off and he's going, "Leave me, Luke. There's no saving me." Like, it's not even a real hand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what happened to him?
And that lightsaber cauterizes it. That's what happened with Luke's. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, he didn't take it to the chest or anything. It's like, you should be fine.
Rub some
Yeah.
dirt on it. Let's go.
So what do we got for best death?
Obi-Wan, when he dies, it's still, I think, my favorite. And
Do you
most
cry? Did
powerful
you
death.
cry when you saw that the first time?
Uh,
Yes,
very
yes,
shocked.
that's a yes.
It was,
Right.
oh, he got cut down, and then there's nothing there, and then your wheels in your head start spinning, going, well, where did he go? And at the time, but I was very shocked when that happened, because I thought he was going to be a bigger part of the movie. You didn't know he was coming back, but at the time you're like, wow, I can't believe they killed that guy off. But Alec Guinness was probably like, good, I'm out of this movie that I didn't want to be in.
It made being a ghost seem not that great, because even in Jedi, he's still old and tired. He's got to like take a rest on a rock.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is he
I'm going to
doing?
talk to you, Luke. Hold on. I'm going to sit down here.
Like my knees are bothering me. Like, you're a ghost. What
My
are you doing?
arthritis is kicking in again.
Yeah,
Oh, my back.
exactly. What about you, Steve?
I'm gonna give a shout out to Princess Leia and say the death of Jabba the Hutt is the worst death / best. I would guess.
It's the only one that I've ever rewatched repeatedly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's such a badass. Just like an old school horror world, people choke, and she choked him in one of the most brutal ways that you could choke someone in a galaxy far, far away.
With him sticking his tongue out.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Jabba also.
Does he even have a throat? I mean, I know he has a throat, but
Oh, it's in there.
yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool with her rearing back on him and that, but you're sitting there going, can she really choke this guy out? And why doesn't he move just 2 feet and jump her, slug her off? But it fit the scene at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
Good stuff.
Come on.
Yeah.
Give the girl a little,
Got to throw her a bone here and there, so to speak. Establish her as more of a badass in the movies, as opposed to, just letting her save Han with a terrible disguise.
And I'm pretty sure that's still before we know that they're brother and sister. So
yeah,
it's not like we can say, well, yeah, she used the Force. Well, we had no idea that she had any Force powers. And we didn't know until, I think, 8.
Right. Well, I mean, you kind of know by the end, a little, well, I guess you could assume that was all Luke when he communicates with her at the end of Jedi. You could just kind of assume that, he did that, but he could have reached out to anybody, I guess. But at that point in time, you're still kind of thinking like, maybe Luke and Leia are going to get together.
Yeah. It's like best kissing scene.
Do we want to make that a category?
Yeah.
No. There's only 2 people. One of them's their brother. So yeah, Lucas had the whole idea in his head from the very, very beginning, and he threw that in there because he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Right? Or I don't think he knew. I don't think he had all that figured out quite yet.
The Star Wars trilogy is very close to like what happened with the Planet of the Apes movies. The first one comes out, it's a powerhouse. It does a lot better than what people think. You think that movie, that's going to be a free, a singular movie. And then all of a sudden Hollywood tells you got to make a sequel to this, or, maybe a third one. And like we were talking, if they would have wound up with Lucas thought that Leia was going to be Luke's sister and brother, I don't think he would have had them smooching on each other in the first movie so much. Nobody really would have cared. But,
they kiss in
the first Planet of the What's that?
Do they kiss in the first movie? They only kissed the one time in the second, right?
Well, in the first movie when...
Oh, no, yeah. Okay, it's after the fight, isn't it? Yeah.
He throws that rope and she's
For some reason, I thought that was at the end of 5. All right.
No, that's in 4, yeah.
I'm getting my kissing scenes mixed up. I'm sorry.
They do kiss multiple times. I forgot.
But I mean, like Planet of the Apes, it's like Charlton Heston in front of the Statue of Liberty. It's like, well, that's a great movie. And then, you got to come up with a story for the next one. It's the same way with Lucas 10 years later. It's like, hey, that was great. You better come up with something. How are you going to tie all this together? Well, I guess we can't have them, wind up being brother and sister after they made out a couple times. But
full disclosure, I love the Planet of the Apes movies, those original ones.
Even the last ones when they had the fake rubber masks, those were
great.
Great.
Even the terrible ones. The second one is the worst, I think. But even the 3, 4, and 5, I don't know why I like them. They're terrible. And they couldn't get anyone besides Roddy McDowall to do a voice.
What is going on? The second one. He wasn't in the second one.
Yeah. But he's the voice of every character. Yeah. We've done all the categories and everything. So now we're just going to go around and talk about and rank our movies. Don't give us your full ranking. Just give us number 3. Which is your least favorite of
Return of the
original
Jedi.
trilogy? Why?
I did not like Return of the Jedi when I initially saw it. I watch it now. I admire it a little more than what before. I tell people it's basically the sequel to The Dark Crystal from the year before. I call it a Jim Henson. I call it a Muppet movie because the first scene of Jabba's palace, everything looks like it just came from the Muppet Show, including the Rancor, including his helper, which they were cool looking in Jabba's thing. But I'm just sitting there going, this is Jim Henson. This is The Dark Crystal. It's not much different. I thought the story was kind of weak. I thought it was pretty anticlimactic. I mean, also when they go on the planet and the generator's being protected by 4 stormtroopers, and I hated the Ewoks. So other than that, I thought it was just a money grab to make toys to sell.
I have a problem with the stormtroopers when Luke and Leia are chasing them, and the stormtroopers' whole thing is get to the other stormtroopers, let them know what's happening. Leia falls off her bike, Luke falls off his bike, and the stormtrooper circles back so that Luke can kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should have been gone. Just go.
Yeah,
your whole thing is you're trying to get away from him.
I do enjoy that scene. That scene was fun, to watch. But for me personally, I think that's the weakest movie by far.
What about you, Steve?
I agree. 6 is the weakest. Yeah, we get to wrap everything up. The Emperor is, from what we could tell, he's been killed. Vader redeems himself, but it is a little bit of a, cash grab to say we need to build an entirely new planet and introduce all these different aliens and stuff like that, especially the Ewoks. Like,
but they do that in every movie.
Like, I think they caught on even more so for this one to say we really need to load this with marketing stuff.
The Ewoks, I'm not really going to defend that much.
Right.
They're kind of cool, but somehow they've got all of this stuff set up so that they can attack the stormtroopers. You know what I mean? Like, they've got complicated stuff that should have taken months.
It takes weeks
to build.
of rigging. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the two
the two trees
smash? It was like
dozens of logs all piled up that they can
wait
roll
for that
down a hill. Yeah.
To get right in the right spot.
Yeah.
Great payoff, but
yeah,
they should have had a montage of them just like sawing away at logs and stringing it up.
Right. That would have been great. I'd love to see that, actually. Just a good old-fashioned 80s montage of Ewoks building that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. The one Ewok's like drawing up the architecture stuff and
got
throws
his
his
hard
glasses down, and you know what I mean? Like,
Taking his
I'm so
clipboard.
tired. Yeah. Exactly. Well, this is going to be kind of like for me this trilogy I think is very similar to the Mad Max ones. Where like the first is a classic,
Mm-hmm.
the second one is one of the greatest movies of all time, and I think the third one is pretty underrated. And I'm just gonna I think my least favorite is the first. It's the one that I want to rewatch the least. There's just I'll tell you why.
This better be good.
And all of the things that I like about
You're
the
insulting
characters.
the man.
Yeah.
I know. Not that Jedi doesn't have problems. It does. I think New Hope is a more consistent movie, definitely. But all of the things that I like about all of the characters, Han, Luke, Leia, even Chewbacca, it's none of those things are there in New Hope. Those characters haven't really been figured out yet. They're just archetypes. You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
Luke is just a starry-eyed kid that wants to get out of town. Leia is a plucky damsel in distress. It's not until Empire that all of those relationships start to happen. Like the relationship even between Chewbacca and Han is almost non-existent in New Hope. They're together, but you don't really get any idea of what their relationship is like or anything. So to me, that one just seems like a really good Flash Gordon. If they hadn't made any of the other movies, it's Flash Gordon, but really, really good. I think all of the things that make it special, that make the trilogy special, come in those other two movies. Even Jedi has some of those moments that additionally sort of build the mythology of the characters that isn't there in New Hope, which I think makes it more interesting, even though it has more flaws.
That's fair.
And the plot is a rehash. You can't get over that. It's just, oh, another Death Star. We're going to do it again. And we didn't learn not to build a generator in the middle of it that can just be shot and the whole thing explodes.
Well, I didn't know you were an engineer, Mike, so.
Well, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know.
What, that goes back to New Hope initially being a single movie and not that. And I think, a lot of the character development just couldn't happen that quickly in the first one. Like you said.
It's almost like it has to not have any of that stuff because they have so much explaining to do.
Yeah.
They have to explain this mysterious force, the whole universe, the Empire, the rebels, all of these relationships and things. So it's almost like this very surface level movie that, like, I get it. It's almost, to me, that's the setup for the next two, even though the third is flawed.
But we will all agree, if you've seen it, that the worst one is actually the Christmas special.
Yeah, that's not even, oh, come on. Okay, so Greg, number two.
Number two, I hate being a cliche, but New Hope's my number two. Which obviously then Empire is my top movie. I mean,
if
that's
New
what
Hope
everyone
was your
says.
first one, I'd say you're just clouded by nostalgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they rerun these movies, even though everyone probably has them on DVD, but when they're on TV, I watch them every time. Or, if it's a Saturday or Sunday and I'm in the store and it's like, I'm checking, it's like, well, TNT's got a Star Wars, marathon going on. I'm going to watch them all again. And I usually do. And New Hope is really climbing close to Empire as I rewatch it, going, man, I really enjoy Darth Vader, and the end scene and Obi-Wan, just seeing Alec Guinness do something I know he didn't wind up wanting to admit that he did, but I mean, the guy's a brilliant actor. And, the beginning of Han and Chewie and all that. But yeah, number two by a smidgen, I put New Hope.
Yeah, same. New Hope is my second pick. I mean, there's not much more to say to it.
Yeah, see, I have Jedi as my second favorite. Again, like for all the reasons that I just talked about.
Right.
I happen to think that whole sequence at Jabba's palace is just awesome. I think if that movie could have kept up that pace, I think that would have been great. I'm there. It does start to drag once they get to the moon of Endor and the Ewoks show up. It's a little bit like, okay, come on.
So you think the Jabba scene saved that movie to put it above New Hope?
Well, again, it's not necessarily that scene's so much better than anything in New Hope. It's that
it is a great scene.
It is a great scene, but all of the stuff I always appreciated the humor and everything. And other than maybe Han chasing the stormtroopers and then running back when he realizes how many of them there are, there's not a lot of humor in New Hope. Like his humor hasn't settled in. None of the interplay between he and Leia is there. None of the relationships are really formed. So all of my favorite moments with the characters are kind of in the other two movies, even though Jedi is flawed as it is.
Right. It's a fair assessment.
Yeah. And I just love the closure. I love finally seeing the Emperor. I love seeing, like, who are these red guys? Where do they come? They're only in those two scenes. I love that whole thing. It's just, you didn't even know that was going to happen in New Hope. And all of a sudden there's this guy and he has powers and it takes a long time to kill Luke. Like, your force lightning is, might want to up the amperage there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you got to draw it out. It's suspenseful.
I'm just saying, get this
Stand in a
over
bucket
with.
of water.
I was gonna throw him out a window like he did Mace, but
Is that the same no that they added in there too for Darth Vader? Did they just take the audio from the end of?
I don't believe so at all.
So I guess we've got a clean sweep. We all agree that Empire Strikes Back is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Greg, tell us, did you get to see Empire Strikes Back without knowing what was going to happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in another comic book store before I went and saw that movie back in 1980, and everyone was doing the same thing we do now 40 years later by conjecturing what was going to happen in that, and where everyone was talking about who Luke's father was, and 13 or 14 at the time, and I just blurted out Boba Fett. So all the adults started laughing at me. They're like, "Why do you think Boba Fett would be his father?" But I had no idea going in. It was a shock. And like I saw on a Looper video last night, he actually goes, "No, I am your father. It's not Luke, I am your father," because everyone gets it wrong initially.
Yeah. Everyone who like parodies it they say, Luke. He never says Luke.
Luke.
You thought
Luke
Boba
says
Fett was going to be his father?
Yeah.
What did you say? That's what you said?
The line at the end of the movie is not "Luke, I am your father." It's "No,
Right.
I am your father."
But back in the day, you thought that Boba Fett was going to be Luke's dad.
Yeah, for some reason, this is before I saw the movie. I just randomly blurted out Boba Fett.
That was your
even
pick.
Was he in New Hope?
Yeah.
He was?
No, he wasn't in New Hope, but
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they had talked about, since he was in the Christmas special, about how this bounty hunter was going to be in this other movie. And I'm like, well, if he wasn't in the first movie, then they'll secretly make him his father in the second movie. But that movie blew me away. I mean, especially the one scene when they go inside the monster with the Millennium Falcon, this thing's moving, you just sitting there and you see the effect of the thing coming out of the ground trying to grab the Millennium Falcon. But I mean, Lando was a great character. The opening scene's fantastic. I mean, I love the Battle of Hoth. It's really, really, really good. And then, just the whole ending scene of that. And then you come out of the movie going, well, we get at least one more movie out of this. So you have even though it's a sad, somber ending, it's still, wow, okay. I'm a Star Wars fan. I get another Star Wars movie because they can't, like we talked about, they're not going to end it on that note.
And as sad as it was, you're kind of hyped to, be left hanging, not knowing, or what is going on. Is he, is he lying to like manipulate him? It was up in the air still.
Oh yeah. It's the best. How have we not talked about Yoda yet? Nobody's mentioned Yoda at all. It has Yoda in it. Yeah. It's got to be, you know what I mean?
Frank Oz is a genius, he still is.
And then
it's his second best role to the parole officer in Trading Places.
What?
He gives Dan Aykroyd back his money. What's this?
No Miss Piggy
PCP.
love?
Yeah.
What about Miss Piggy? Come on.
Oh yeah, of course, Miss Piggy. But
now, Greg, you might know this, but I looked around and somewhere I saw that I guess Lucas, his original idea for Yoda was that they were going to actually take a live monkey, and dress it up, and that was going to be Yoda. And I guess they actually did this.
Well, like Lancelot Lee, Private Chimp.
Yeah.
A TV show from the late 60s, early 70s where they just had chimpanzees dressed in human clothes and just throwing stuff around. And
right.
Oh my God, that would be
obviously it was a disaster.
Terrible.
It didn't work. And then I guess they shopped around for voices for Yoda, even after they brought Frank Oz on to do the puppet. He still didn't want Oz to do the voice.
I'm surprised that Lucas never marketed the stew that he made for Luke initially before he told him he was Yoda. Here's Yoda's stew. Yeah. Luke takes the bite and good, isn't it? And they're like, no.
Here's those sausages. Whatever Luke was, it can't be any worse than those sausages Luke was eating. Those are disgusting. Yeah. And then interesting note, we kind of live, well, it's sort of tenuous, but sort of near where some people consider the birthplace of Yoda to be. Do you know about that, Greg?
No.
What's her name?
I might.
Lee Brackett, who basically wrote the Yoda character. She died right after she wrote the first draft of Empire Strikes Back, basically invented the Yoda character. Lucas came up with the idea, but she wrote it. But she's, I guess, from Kinsman. And if you go there, she was neighbors.
You know what? I do remember somebody telling me about that.
Yeah. There's like an old soda shop that's up there, and the owners of it lived across the street from her or next door to her. So they kind of consider them, they have some Yoda memorabilia up there, and they they kind of say they're the birthplace of Yoda.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like the gentleman that was from Austintown that was E.T. in the movies, Pat Bylon. When they actually had, he was in the costume, for that. And I met him once at a local comic shop back in like 1982, right when E.T. came out, because he was still, but hey, we got Yoda and E.T. coming from Trumbull, Mahoning County. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
And Dave Grohl.
Exactly. Representing.
Yeah, representing.
Once we all become famous, yeah, we'll be there.
I'm too old for that.
Oh, there's still time.
Only if I kill somebody.
Yeah, you'd have to do something. Yeah, you got to go to the dark side.
Yeah, I will have to go to the dark side.
Okay, well, here we go. We'll tally these up. Who has any guesses on what won the most categories? It wasn't even close.
It's probably 6. It has to be.
It's Jedi.
Yeah.
Jedi took 4, and both of the other movies only took 1.
One
Yeah.
each.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
New Hope won Best Ending, and lightsaber fight went to Empire Strikes Back. Other than that, Jedi won all of the categories.
I think it was stacked.
Yeah, this is a good example of where as plays to the categories.
Best
Some of
movie
them-
with Ewoks.
No. Some of them I didn't count though, like
Best ship didn't really influence anything.
well, yeah, exactly,
But
stuff like that.
But I mean, out of all 3 movies, I think 2 of the most iconic scenes are the end of New Hope and the, lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader and Empire Strikes Back. I mean, when you look over and think about it, it's like, wow, those 2 actually really stick out in my mind, personally as two of the better scenes overall in that. But I just didn't like the fact that they would have like a scene 1 and a scene 2 in all these movies. They just, like after they killed off Jabba in the 3rd movie, now we're going to get to the actual crux of what's going on, with the Empire and stuff like that. Same way with Empire, you got the Battle of Hoth, and then, we're going to move along into this other thing as opposed to just one movie dealing with one specific topic. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
it
right.
doesn't detract, but it's like they had this formula and they've always kind of stuck with it. I mean, how many times can you blow up something, like back in 2015 when the new one come out, everyone's raving about, boy, that was one of the best movies. I'm like, it's the same plot as 2 of the, 3 movies. I'm like, we
Yeah.
waited 15 years for this?
Right. But now it's a planet.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
planet.
it's a Death Star. Right.
I'm like, come on. Lucas sells the rights and the new people come up with the exact same thing. And I'm like, I kind of half rolled my eyes. It was great to see that movie, but it was like nothing new. I mean, then you get these guys like trying to use semantics like, well, this is where it was different. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
To you it is. To me it's not, but
My money, the best one since episode 6 has been Rogue One. That's my favorite since
love that
Rogue One.
movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All right.
love that movie. And the first time I saw that, I'm sitting there the last 10 minutes, like, where's this movie going to wind up at? What's going to happen? And then
Hold
that last
on.
scene happens. That last scene happens. And I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
they really, it just left me speechless. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I watch it on TV and I still get goosebumps sometimes, when you start seeing that lightsaber just flipping around and all these guys just laying down and dying. And you're like, okay. Then they open the door up and with Leia just standing there and she, hope. And you're just like, oh.
We are in episode 4 right now.
Yeah, we're in episode 4
This
right
is awesome.
now.
Yeah. My daughter has never seen Rogue One, but she's seen me watch that scene because every once in a while I'll just turn that scene on. She loves that scene. She might be
Oh,
a
it's
future
fantastic.
psychopath.
I even like Solo. I don't, a lot of people gave it crap, but I thought as a non-Star Wars just movie, it was decent, but
Oh yeah.
Well, Greg, you voted for New Hope most of the time. 5-1 for each of the others. Steve, you went with Jedi. 4 categories for Jedi, 1 for New Hope, and 2 for Empire.
Okay.
I didn't have anything for New Hope. I had 2 for Empire and 5 for Jedi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's all right. I don't like New Hope, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Closing thoughts. Anything else before we go? I don't understand why Disney doesn't just re-release the original movies.
Yeah, the OG.
They would make
That'd be
$1
awesome.
trillion.
Oh, yeah. Disney, if you're listening,
Yeah.
hear us out.
Well,
They
look how
had to
much
have thought of that, right?
look how much extra money Lucas made in the 90s when he, did a couple things and re-released. I mean, every time I went, the place was packed.
Although I will say one of the great all-time disappointments of my life was going to see Phantom Menace. It's one of the all-time. Oh, it was. No, it's definitely top 10 disappointing moments of my entire life.
Yeah.
My then girlfriend, now wife, not familiar with Star Wars at all. I hyped this so much. And I took her to this thing, and this is going to be great. And everyone there's pumped up for it. Everyone's there to see that movie. Da-da! And everyone's like, ah! You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, it's the crawl, it's the score. And then it just like,
That first scene was just so mind-boggling.
yeah.
It's like, who are these 2 Jedi? Okay, one's Obi-Wan, and then it's like Trade Federation, and you're like, what's going on? I was lost the first 20 minutes of that movie. I rewatch it now going, maybe I missed something the first time around.
No. At some point, I do remember I just had to go like, I'm sorry. This is not as good as the other ones. Trust me. We'll watch the other ones. They're much better.
But then Darth Maul showed up, and you were like, all right.
He's the best part. He's cool. Yeah.
They
And then
hyped
he
him
got
up,
killed.
and he's in the movie for 3 minutes.
Yeah, they really, all the commercials back then,
Yep.
it was him. He did the thing, and then both blades came out, and you're like, oh no, this is going to be like a bad dude.
And he's awesome. He's terrific.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, one day we should do which gets really complicated is like, who's rank the Jedis, you know what I mean? Or just the Force users.
Sure.
Because it gets so convoluted because you sit there and you go, well, Anakin's supposed to be the greatest of all time, but Luke apparently beat him. So maybe Luke's better than he is, but Luke can't be that good, right? Darth Maul sure looks like he could take
Sort of.
Luke, right? But
Yeah.
then Obi-Wan beat him, but Darth Vader beat him. It just gets messy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like in Clones when Mace Windu's wiping everybody up, and you're thinking, this guy's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I think we're calling it. Thank you very much for coming in, Greg.
No
We
problem.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
When we never ever do the other Star Wars trilogies, we'll have you back.
I just want to say these movies, for somebody my age, were just so magical. And I mean, they really changed Hollywood after that first movie came out. I mean, so the only other science fiction movie you had that had any type of run back then that wasn't a monster movie was 2001: A Space Odyssey. And that movie is so diametrically different than the Star Wars movies, as opposed, it's more of an opera as opposed to a cowboy movie. But then it pushed Hollywood to put more science fiction stuff out there. You had the Star Trek TV show, but that was camp, just like the Batman TV show. I mean, I love the original Star Trek movies or TV show. The movies itself didn't get good until number 2, and then 4 was good, and then the rest of them were kind of here and there. But
What? No love for Search for Spock? Come on, man.
yeah, the guy from Square Pegs was great.
I don't know who you're talking about. I like
The one who
Search for
played
Spock.
Kirk's, the curly-haired guy.
Oh,
He wound
okay.
up dying in like 1989. He was on a TV show called Square Pegs.
I
and,
don't remember that one, but I know who you're
Johnny
talking
Slash,
about.
totally. But I mean, you saw just a whole new generation of ideas and things to come out to where guys like me who listen to rock and roll and play Dungeons and Dragons or read comic books, and you had another something come out that was, popular, just like the cowboy movies that came out in the 50s, the Tarzan movies. We had our own thing to where we could talk about this kind of stuff, and it was an actual something you could look forward to as opposed to self gratification right now by picking up a phone. It's like, wow, we've got a Star Wars movie coming out in like 2 years. And then, you had the Indiana Jones movies come out and that. And I mean, as much much guff that Lucas got for these films, you got to give the guy credit. Him and Spielberg. I mean, they changed everything for us nerds to watch and listen to the last 45 years. And God bless them. And, I don't agree with the South Park where they,
we're not going to get into that.
We can't.
But I mean, it's life changing. I don't know what my life would be without Star Wars. Just think about it. Even not doing the line of business that I do, it's just something that's there. And I think we give it a pass because we think so fondly of it. Because if you really look critically at some of these movies, they're not as, they're not great cinema, so to speak, but they entertained us. And, now you got a whole new generation of kids in that coming into this, where you thought it was going to be dead in 1983. Real quick, and I know I say that all the time. I had a friend and her husband go up to Mike's in Kent 3 days ago. And she's like, hey, what should I order there? I go, well, the menu there is like 42 pages. And she's like, okay, thanks for the info. I said, Roger that, Gold Leader. And she's like, who's Roger that? And who is Gold Leader? I go, he flew the X-Wings in the Star Wars movie. And she's like, what's an X-Wing? I go, weren't you at Mike's in Kent? She goes, yeah. I go, the whole point anyone goes there is not for the food. It's to go see the spaceship out front. And she had no idea what I was talking about till I sent her a picture of the thing going, that big thing out front of the restaurant, that's an X-Wing. She's like, oh, I've never seen Star Wars. And I'm thinking.
She think it was from World War II?
Or something. Yeah, I'm like, wait, the Vietnam War, or something like that. It was part of Watergate. And I was just like, there's still people out there that are quasi-oblivious to, the stuff where to us it's like, if you wrote a book, it's like, here's the chapter on Star Wars. But I was just laughing like, Marianne, how do you not know what an X-Wing is? Or, well, I've never seen those movies. And I'm thinking, they're on TV every 2 weeks.
No, you use it as shorthand to have other conversations.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't understand these movies and aren't intimately aware of Indiana Jones and, Star Wars or Back to the Future or something like, I almost can't talk to you because I'm only going to talk. You have to understand those things in order to get what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't understand the references, we're speaking
here's a quote from
languages.
Caddyshack. Well, I've never seen that, and it's like,
well,
I
then
can't talk
I'm
to
not
that.
your friend.
Right.
Yeah. Listen to Chevy Chase, go take some drugs and watch Caddyshack.
Yeah.
You take drugs, Danny? Every day. Good. Fantastic. Thanks for coming, Greg. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
This is episode 3. There are other episodes of Better Than You Remember. We've got ranking the Indiana Jones movies. We've got Tony Marr and I talking about Big Trouble in Little China. You like Big Trouble in Little China, Greg?
Yeah. It's
fantastic movie.
It's not one that I've seen 100 times, but
Better
I
Than
do
You
enjoy that
Remember.
movie.
You should check it out. Kurt Russell's amazing. It's the best Kurt Russell performance of all time. Tango and Cash coming in a close second. But be sure to like, subscribe, click the little bell for notifications if you're watching us on YouTube. This is going to be a podcast. It's going to be up on Apple and all of that stuff soon. So maybe it's there. I don't know when you're watching this, but it might be there now. So check us out for that also. Thanks again, Greg. Thanks again, Steve. And we'll see you guys all next time.